Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise. You know that feeling, don't you? You can understand English perfectly well. You're listening, you're reading, you totally get it. But then, boom, it's your turn to speak. And it's like all the words just, poof, vanish. That feeling of hitting a wall. Understanding, yeah, but not being able to actually say it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, that frustration, it's incredibly common. For so many people, it feels like the biggest roadblock to really getting fluent. So today, our mission is to dive deep into strategies that, go beyond the usual tips. This isn't just about memorizing more words. It's about fundamentally shifting how you engage with English, getting that real fluency, that confidence. We'll look at some, maybe surprising facts and some practical shortcuts to help you truly think in English.
That constant mental translation from your native language into English right before you open your mouth. It's just so exhausting, isn't it?
It really is.
Slows you down, kills your confidence, makes every conversation feel like this huge mental effort, like there's this little translator on your shoulder slowing everything down.
Exactly. And what's really interesting here is how linguists, like Stephen Krashen, talk about this difference between learning and acquiring a language. Think of learning as the conscious stuff, grammar rules, memorizing lists, textbook exercises, the school way.
Right.
But acquisition, that's different. It's subconscious, more natural, like how kids just soak up their first language without thinking about verb conjugations and traditional methods. They often focus so much on that conscious learning, which honestly can be slow, and it runs right into that forgetting curve we all know.
Yeah.
It helps explain why, in some places like Italy, you can have kids study English for 12 years, starting really young, and still fewer than 20% actually reach a high level by the end of high school.
Wow, 12 years.
Yeah. So the real goal, the shift we're talking about, is moving towards that subconscious acquisition. Thinking directly in English, that's how you get that effortless, natural speech. Your brain builds the pathways without needing that frustrating middleman translator.
Okay, that makes sense. Subconscious acquisition, thinking directly in English. That sounds like the holy grail for so many learners.
Right.
But it can feel like such a huge leap, right? Like, how do you even start? What's the first actual concrete thing someone can do to move away from translating in their head?
Well, the most fundamental thing is activating the language, actively using it. Our sources really hammer this home. Speak, speak, speak.
Keep talking.
Exactly. It's not just about making noise, though. It's about building that muscle memory in your mouth, strengthening those brain pathways for actually producing the language on the fly, just, activating your vocal cords. Even if you're just talking to yourself about what you're doing, that literally rewires your brain faster than only listening or reading. And it's not just about classes. It's practice, practice, practice. With anyone, friends, colleagues, the person at the coffee shop, the supermarket checkout. Every single interaction is a chance to build those connections. And then there's immersion, which is huge. Beyond just talking, you want to surround yourself with English. Watch YouTube, watch movies, start with subtitles. That's totally fine. TV shows.
Right. Get used to the sound.
Exactly. The key is hearing how it's really used in natural, everyday contexts. That helps you absorb expressions, slang, the actual rhythm of how people talk, way better than a textbook can.
Speaking of active stuff, one technique that jumped out was shadowing. That sounds really interesting. What exactly is that? And why is it supposed to be so effective?
Shadowing. Yeah, that can be a real game changer. Basically, you mimic a native speaker. Like you listen to them and speak along with them, trying to copy their pronunciation, their intonation, the ups and downs, the rhythm.
You're literally their vocal shadow.
Precisely. And by doing that, you're not just focusing on single words, you're internalizing the whole flow, the music of the language. You're training your mouth and your ears together. It really bridges that gap between understanding and it actually sounding natural when you speak. And hey, for those times you don't have someone to talk to, just practice solo. Talk to yourself.
Like narrate your day.
Yeah. Describe what you see around you. Talk through what you're doing. Have little imaginary conversations in English. And here's a really powerful tip. Record your voice.
Ooh, I think most people hate hearing their own voice.
Yeah, most do. But it's so beneficial. It forces you to actually hear what you sound like. You can spot things, maybe you speak too fast or mumble or need more clarity. It's like having your own personal language coach, but without the judgment. Plus, you can track your progress over time, which is great for motivation. See how you're improving.
I can definitely see how that helps tackle that self-consciousness barrier.
Yeah.
And building on that, the sources really emphasize learning phrases rather than single words. But we know native speakers use expressions, right? Not just stringing individual words together. Why is focusing on these chunks so important?
Because language isn't built one word at a time, really. It's built with phrases, chunks of meaning. When you learn things like take a dip or anchor the boat, or like in that Lori story we'll get to, ringing me up, or on our last roll,
Right.
you instantly get natural sounding bits of language. It's like having ready-made Lego blocks instead of searching for every tiny brick each time.
Okay.
It speeds up how fast you can think and speak and makes you sound much more fluent, less like you're translating word by word. Word.
Yeah, less robotic.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, speaking of speeding things up, the material also talks about how new tools are changing things for learners. I'm really curious about the role of artificial intelligence here. That seems like a big one.
Oh, absolutely. AI tools like ChatGPT or TalkPal, they can be incredibly powerful practice partners. They're so accessible now. For instance, you can use them for role-playing, practice ordering in a restaurant, asking for directions, all those real-life situations, but in a totally stress-free zone.
No fear of making mistakes in front of someone.
Exactly. And they're great for grammar help, too. You can ask, why is this sentence wrong? Or explain this tense and get instant feedback and explanations, like a grammar tutor on call. Plus, they can be creative tools, brainstorming story ideas, generating dialogue, describing characters, or even finding just the right word. Like, you want different ways to say happy, and AI can give you joyful, content, elated, and help you understand the subtle differences.
That's useful.
And interactive learning, playing language games, vocabulary quizzes, some even help with pronunciation, giving phonetic breakdowns. You'd still want audio examples, but it's a good start.
It's amazing, really. Like having this perfect, endlessly patient conversation partner available 24/7. No judgment, no awkward pauses. That alone must be huge for building confidence.
It truly is. And underlying a lot of this effective learning is the science of repetition. Consistent exposure isn't just boring repetition. It actually reinforces memory pathways in the brain.
Yeah.
It builds confidence because things start to feel familiar, automatic.
Right.
It turns that passive knowledge, things you recognize, into active skills you can actually use. And if you connect this to, say, the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, that shows how quickly we forget things if we don't review. Modern tools often use spaced repetition systems, SRS. They're designed specifically to fight that forgetting curve. They prompt you to review stuff right before you're likely to forget it. Super efficient.
Okay, optimizing the review. Got it. Now, I'm also really intrigued by this idea of sleep learning. It sounds almost magical, like you just absorb English while you're sleeping.
It does sound a bit like science fiction, doesn't it? But the science behind it is actually pretty interesting, though it's nuanced. Research suggests that sleep, particularly that deep, slow-wave sleep, helps consolidate memories. It strengthens the brain connections related to things you learned recently.
Okay.
So, listening to recordings of vocabulary or grammar that you've already actively learned while you're awake, doing that during sleep can actually improve your recall later.
So it's not learning new stuff in your sleep.
Exactly. It's more about reinforcing what's already there. Think of it as a booster, an enhancer for your active learning, not a replacement for putting in the effort when you're awake. It helps make those connections stick better, which, raises an important question. What kind of mindset do you need for all this? Because the tools are great, but your attitude matters hugely. First off, patience and taking small steps.
Right, not trying to boil the ocean.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You have to celebrate the small wins, every little bit of progress. That keeps you motivated. Trying to do too much, too fast, that just leads to burnout.
And a really big part of that mindset, I think, is embracing mistakes, not seeing them as failures.
Oh, absolutely critical.
There's just learning opportunities,
Okay.
right? Data points for your brain showing what needs more work. If you're scared of mistakes, you won't speak.
Exactly. Reframe them. They're not errors, they're feedback. It encourages you to experiment, to try things out.
And also trying to make it fun. Inject some enjoyment into it.
Yes. Sing along to English songs, even if you're off-key. Try tongue twisters. Give yourself little impromptu speech challenges on silly topics. Play language games.
Keep it light.
Yeah. When you enjoy the process, your brain is actually more receptive to learning. It's easier, more effective. And please, don't underestimate the value of community. Finding other people.
Like language exchange partners.
Yes. Online platforms like HelloTalk, Tandem, italki, they're fantastic. You connect with native English speakers who are maybe learning your language. It's win-win. You practice, they practice. It's a great way to get real conversation practice in a supportive, low-stakes environment. Builds confidence like crazy.
Speaking of real conversations, I love that anecdote in the sources about Lori, the one where she scored a year's supply of toilet paper in Sweden.
Oh, yeah, that story's brilliant.
It just perfectly shows how real, authentic conversations unfold, right? The way she tells it, all the excitement, using phrases like office supply porn and getting her daily fix.
Yes.
And the clerk ringing me up. Her total disbelief. Are you kidding?
And the Swedes just raising their eyebrows at this crazy, excited person.
She was on her last roll at home and suddenly scored this mountain of toilet paper.
It's gold. And understanding those spontaneous moments with the natural idioms, the way she uses past tenses to tell the story, that's invaluable listening practice. You just don't get that from a textbook.
Absolutely. So wrapping things up a bit, the approach we've talked about today is really multifaceted, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's actively speaking, for sure, but also leveraging these amazing modern tools like AI and having that positive patient mindset, embracing mistakes and connecting with the community, finding your people. And it all comes back to those real conversations like Lori's toilet paper adventure. That's where the language really lives. It's a journey. Fluency is not some final destination you just arrive at. Every step counts.
Couldn't agree more. And maybe here's a final thought, sort of a provocation for you, our listener. What if you stopped thinking about practicing English as this separate task you have to schedule? What if you made thinking in English a natural, integrated part of something you already do and hopefully enjoy every single day?
Like what?
Well, maybe during your morning walk or your commute, while you're cooking dinner. Try narrating things to yourself in English, planning your next steps in English, just letting it weave into activities you're already doing. When you blend it like that, it feels less like a chore and more like just part of your life. It helps build consistency, makes it more enjoyable, and you engage with the language much more deeply. So maybe just pick one thing, 1 or 2 tips from our deep dive today, and just start. Start today.